I'm joined with one of my colleagues, Nien, who is in the chat with me today. If you have questions throughout the session today, please post those in the chat and we will do our best to answer as quickly as possible. We are thankful that you joined and we hope that you enjoy the session. We are going to build, you're going to get hands-on today and build Joule skills in SAP Build and then test that skill. We're actually going to run a scenario where you are going to get help with a collections email as an example. So somebody that's in sales or in customer service or credit is going to get some help from Joule in drafting an email, which is kind of cool, pulling data from SAP. Now here at VASS, we do a lot of different things, but we are most importantly an SAP Gold partner. We focus on Business Data Cloud, BTP, Integration Suite. Today we're focused on Build, SAP Build, Joule, and Joule agents. So we're happy to support your organization as the need arises. So jumping into the lab overview, wanted to talk quickly about SAP Build Apps. SAP Build Apps is the solution within BTP that you will be using today. SAP Build Apps includes multiple capabilities. We have SAP Build Process Automation, SAP Business Application Studio, we have Joule Skill Builder, we have Work Zone, and soon you'll have Joule Agent Builder also available in SAP Build Apps. Remember, automations like business process automations and Joule skills can work together for different scenarios and complex requirements. A few weeks ago, we ran a hands-on lab showcasing document AI using an LLM to extract data from a document and process that in a business process automation. So we're happy to send you that lab if you want to attend. You're welcome to message us in the chat saying, I'd like the BPA lab, and we will send that over to you after this session. So again, SAP Build Apps includes 4 major components, and SAP Joule Studio is where we're working today. Joule Studio is the primary UI for developing Joule skills. Specifically today, we're working on deterministic skills. So in terms of what is a deterministic task has a clear beginning, a clear process, and a clear end. So the agent or the AI or the LLM doesn't have to figure anything out. You're going to give it all the tools that it needs to complete its task, and it has a clear start and a clear end. So a Joule skill has a deterministic task, like asking for the status of a sales order, show me open invoices for a specific customer. Obviously, that has a clear start and a clear end, and a single API to use, right? So that's a deterministic task. Joule Agent Builder will allow us to build non-deterministic agents, and that is expected to be released this quarter. Now, Joule Studio, just to highlight, a lot of people have been thinking about or wondering, well, is Joule for me? If you are an SAP customer with on-premise S4 or on-premise ERP, you can still deploy SAP Build Apps. You can build Joule skills against any OData data source. So on S4 on-premise, we have multiple OData data sources available to us, OData APIs, whether that's business partner lookup or sales order or invoice or product or inventory or whatever it might be. All of those are available to Joule on SAP Build, and you would expose SAP Joule to business users through Work Zone or through Microsoft Teams. So Joule Skill Builder allows customers to build custom skills against any OData data source. That could be S/4HANA Cloud, Sales and Service Cloud from SAP, Marketing Cloud, Field Service Management, Ariba, SuccessFactors, or any other OData destination like Salesforce.com, like ServiceNow, like Slack. It doesn't matter. Anything available with an API, Joule, as long as it can authenticate to the API, Joule can handle it, right? So Joule Studio is that capability where we can add actions. Actions are the ability to access OData APIs, and we can bundle those into Joule skills and deploy Joule as an AI agent or a co-pilot to our business users. So super powerful. I think that, in my opinion, SAP Build will be part of every SAP customer's landscape in the future, because again, this is the user interface for building custom skills, and we're going to have those needs to build custom AI skills in our landscape. That could be an inbound delivery planning skill to help customers plan inbound delivery trucks, inbound trucks and unloading. It could be a 3-way match skill. There's lots of different capabilities out there, and I think the The person that's going to be most successful is the person who asked the best question. But SAP Build is that platform to enable us to deploy these capabilities, whether that's document AI and business process automation, whether that's business application studio and generating Fiori apps, or creating Joule skills and Joule agents with Joule Studio. All of that is delivered with SAP Build. Now, remember last week we ran a lab for building Fiori applications with Business Application Studio, specifically using Joule for developers to build a Fiori app using a text prompt and an image prompt. It was a very cool class. If you'd like to have a copy of that, please message us. We'll get you that one as well. This was leveraging Joule for developers to build a Fiori app based on a text prompt. It was a very cool session. SAP Build, again, also has the automation platform, the business process automation platform. This is, again, last week where we leveraged document AI in a prior lab to extract data from a PDF. It could be Excel, it could be Word, it could be an image. Document AI and business process automation is a great platform for automating processes. It's a low-code environment, drag and drop within a browser to build there. You also have pro-code capabilities, so the ability to run custom JavaScript inside of that as well. Joule Studio is where we're focused today, where we're going to build a Joule skill. I'm going to talk about licensing here in a little bit. And then the last component of SAP Build I wanted to highlight is WorkZone. WorkZone effectively is that ability to build a Fiori Launchpad and deploy that Fiori Launchpad in BTP to extend applications from on-premise applications to cloud-based applications, all within a single Launchpad, and give your users access to Joule. So WorkZone is a fantastic platform for doing so, for building and deploying custom Joule skills, for connecting to on-premise systems, and for connecting to other cloud-based systems as well. Now, this lab is focused on SAP Build, and we have a couple other components that we're using in this environment today. We have configured SAP's Identity Authentication Service, IAS. This is a critical component of Joule. It's important to know that there is no successful deployment of Joule without IAS. So IAS will become part of everybody's landscape, is part of the conversation. It is where we integrate the Identity Authentication Service to our corporate IDP so that we can extend Joule to Microsoft Teams. Now, saying that, I just want to do a quick audio and speed check. I'm going to keep going through this slide here, but just wanted to make sure if everybody could give me a thumbs up if audio is good. And if you have any questions, again, please do type those away in the chat or raise your hand. So in our landscape today, we are using SAP Build on BTP. We have Joule activated for Joule for developers. We have Joule Studio activated. And the only license that you need today as a customer to perform all the things we're doing today in your own environment, there's only one license needed. That's the SAP Build developer license, right? That's a pay license, and you can go to the Discovery Center to view the license cost for the Build developer. But the SAP Build developer license is all that you need to perform the lab that we have today. We're going to talk about the configuration steps that need to happen before you can get started. But in terms of licenses, one common misconception I get is, do I need AI units? And the answer is no, you do not, right? You just need an SAP Build developer license. We do need to have the SAP Build automated configuration completed. We do need to have the Joule booster set up. But the only license you need to get started is that SAP Build developer license. Now, taking a quick glance at the architecture here, you can very clearly see that SAP Joule Studio and SAP Build Process Automation are part of SAP Build. SAP Build applications or tools can access any destination. A destination can be an OData data source pointing to an SAP Cloud solution, S/4HANA, Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, FSM, etc. A destination can also point to an on-premise applications, right? So on-premise S4. So an OData API on-premise can be exposed as a destination to SAP Build and to SAP Joule to build custom skills. So this environment, this platform is applicable to every SAP customer. Now, in order to get this set up, we recommend that everybody utilize the SAP has provided a tool called the Cloud Integration Automation Service. This is a free tool, a free application that is available to you on the SAP BTP Service Marketplace. You activate it, it automates the setup task for SAP Build. I can pause, stop, and start whenever I want, and it provides me detailed logging. The use of this tool is super important because I won't miss a step. I won't forget something, right? It kind of walks me through step by step, configuring SAP Build and getting everything I need ready in order to run SAP Build in my landscape. Now, saying that, I'm going to go ahead and jump out to a quick live demo here. We have my BTP Global tenant here on my screen, and I have created a sub account in US East AWS, and I've named the sub account Cloud Integration Automation. And that's because in this sub account, that's the only thing I have activated. When you go to the Service Marketplace, you can see something called Cloud Integration Automation. It is a always free service. You can hit the Create button. And as you can see here, I already have one working and running. I'm going to hit Go to Application. And to give you a quick tour, this is, again, a free service on BTP. There's no charge. You under your global account would create a sub account for the Cloud Integration Automation Service application. You would activate the application, and then there's a wizard for us to provision SAP Build on BTP. So it's a great tool. Again, it's going to walk you through all these different steps. So enabling Cloud Foundry, establishing the trust with your identity tenant, disabling the default IDP, activating work zone integration if you choose, and again, setting up all the other services. So this is a much better tool as opposed to manually configuring SAP Build step-by-step on my own. And when you're out here in the Build Automation tool, Integration Automation Service, you can check out the other wizards that they have available for us. For example, Cloud Connector with Principal Propagation. This is a task we often have to complete in our environments. And then we got a bunch of other different scenarios from the Best Practices Toolkit from SAP. So a very cool application, a very neat application that everybody should definitely be using. Now, jumping back into the PowerPoint. And again, please let me know if you have any questions, everybody. I know that I'm going quickly, but I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to perform the lab. Was there a question? Okay, so we talked about Cloud Integration Automation. This is what's going to help you set up SAP Build. The next thing you need to do is you need to accept the terms and conditions with what's called the Joule base application from the SAP store. It is a $0 application. This is what will enable SAP Joule in BTP for you and enable you to use Joule with SAP Build and Joule Studio and Joule Agent Builder, etc. So again, you go to this the SAP store here. I've put the link in the deck. We'll get you the deck at the end of this meeting. And you go there and again, you effectively purchase that $0 item from the SAP store. Now, common questions I get: do I need to buy AI units? The answer is no, right? You just need to buy the SAP Build developer license in order to build Joule skills. AI units are only required for premium AI solutions, document grounding, or document AI. We don't need those to build Joule skills today. In all my prior labs, business process automation, and Joule for Developer Lab that we did, again, no need for AI units. You have Joule Base, which is $0. You run the SAP Build Integration Setup Wizard, the automated setup wizard for SAP Build, and you have the Build Developer license, and you're ready to get started, right? So it's very cool. How long does it typically take? Identity, as everybody here knows, security and identity is the longest pole in the tent. So once you kind of get the identity tenant set up and integrated with your corporate IDP, it moves very fast. SAP Build should be set up in less than a day, no more than 2 days. If you encounter any errors with Joule, you report the Joule, the incident to SAP. SAP will get you fixed up. But ultimately, it should be a very fast process to set up SAP Build. Today, we're going to be working in Joule in what's called a standalone environment. So as you can imagine, we have over 20 people here in the lab here today. And I can't have all 20 of you building the same skill, deploying it to the same environment, because then we wouldn't be able to test each other's work. So what we have here today is we have something called a standalone environment, where each person is deploying their own Joule skill to their own Joule environment that is completely isolated from other environments. And so that's called a standalone environment. And it's what's going to enable all of us to do the same thing at the same time across 20 people, so that we're able to, again, effectively complete the lab, see the Joule skill, but just know in the real world, you would deploy your Joule skill to the shared Joule environment, which would be the shared Joule environment with your S4 instance, with your Ariba instance, SuccessFactors, SAP S4 Cloud, S4 Private Cloud, etc. Right? So there's a Joule instance that's shared across all of your SAP Cloud solutions. That's the shared environment. Today, we're working in what's called the standalone environment for the lab. A quick highlight, though, I do have a destination configured here. So you're connecting to a live S4 system today. The S4 system, we have multiple destinations configured, and one of them is using SAML assertion. So that's where we can have single sign-on from the Joule skill into the SAP system. Super important for security, so that as you're building a Joule skill, the user's authentication and roles applies to that Joule skill. So if I don't have permissions to look up a sales order, I shouldn't be able to execute this Joule skill for the sales order, right? Super important. Those settings are there. And again, you can use the integration automation service to configure principal propagation as well. So we are, security has come into play. So if you're keeping a scorecard here, I talked about running integration automation service to run SAP Build. I talked about accepting the Joule base license agreement, which is $0 charge and applies to your global account. The next thing you need to do after you've set up SAP Build, after you've accepted Joule base, is you run the Joule booster, which effectively connects, integrates the Joule instance in BTP with your Build subscription and any other subscriptions that you choose to integrate Joule with. So here on my screen, I'm running the Joule booster. It's a one-time task. I can't do it live for you. You can see I've checked the boxes for Build Work Zone, S4HANA Public Cloud in this case. And here is where it's linking the Joule instance. It's integrating, right? It's integrating the Joule instance to those solutions. And this step absolutely has to be run in order for you to have Joule for developers, in order for you to have Joule Skill Builder to work, et cetera, et cetera. This Joule booster has to absolutely run. So there's really three main tasks that you need to get to the place where we're going to build Joule skill. I'll pause there. There has to be some questions, comments. Anybody have any questions out there? Please let me know. Well, hopefully no one's fallen asleep yet. But I promise, I know I do talk fast. Hopefully you haven't muted me yet, but you will be getting into the lab here very shortly. We just need a couple more minutes. All right. High level, what are you going to do today? You're going to log into SAP Build. You're going to create actions for S4HANA APIs. You're going to add those actions to a Joule skill. You're going to design the way that Joule responds to the user question, and then you're going to review and test the Joule skill. The specific scenario that we're working with today is a customer service rep sees a sales order on credit hold, and that customer service rep wants to know what are the open invoices for that customer and help me draft an email to the customer letting them know they need to pay their 3 invoices before the new sales order will be released on credit hold. So it is a real world scenario, right? We have sales orders in our ERP system. We have customer service people that have to communicate with customers about orders on credit hold. And we want an assistant to write a natural language email for us, kind of highlighting that, hey, this sales order is on credit hold. We need you to pay, these other invoices before we can release this sales order, right? I think it's a real world scenario. It's integrating 2 APIs and using an LLM's capability to draft an email. So it's a good test for us. Today, I will be issuing everybody a lab user ID. A lab user is lab user and then a number. So it's going to be lab user 030405 at vasscompany.com. The password is there on the screen, NEWPA55 exclamation point. In the chat here in Microsoft Teams, I will be giving you a link to the Word document for the lab instructions. I will be giving you the link to GitHub where we have the lab instructions in PDF. I like the Word document a little bit better, so I'm going to give you that one, but we also have the PDF version in the GitHub site. We want to remind everybody to use Chrome as part of the lab today. It does not, I have not confirmed that the lab works with Edge or Firefox. Chrome is preferred. Microsoft Edge is a Chromium browser, so Microsoft Edge should work as well. And in order to avoid any conflict with your BTP accounts, if you can use a new profile in Chrome, that ensures that you have no cookies or anything like that that are going to prevent you from completing the lab as a VASS company user account. So again, I'm going to pause here for a second and we're going to start issuing out user IDs. I just need to build a quick spreadsheet and we'll assign those out. While I'm doing that, please let me know if anybody has any questions at this time. All right, I'm using a spreadsheet here on my screen and I'll paste this in the chat. But Bruno, you're going to be lab user 03. Dominic, you're going to be lab user 4. George, if you want, the lab is you are lab user 5. Aaron, you are lab user 6. Geraldo, you are lab user 7. And I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize. Lab user 8. Srinivas, you are lab user 9. Maurizio, you are lab user 10. Tanu, you are lab user 11. Scott Anthony, you are lab user 12. And Shiva Prakash, you are lab user 13. I will go ahead and paste these in the chat window just so everybody has their user ID. All right. Next, let me go ahead and give you the lab instructions in Microsoft Word. All right, there's the lab instructions in Microsoft Word for everybody to download. And then lastly, the, let's see, the GitHub links. All right. Let me get that. Where did I put that? So I was hoping that everybody could give me a quick thumbs up if you are able to get to the Word document and are able to get to SAP Build Apps, which is step 1 in the guide. And I am going to lead the session doing the same thing as you all so that we all are doing it together. So at this point, everybody should have a lab user ID. And your lab user ID, I've issued you a lab user number. And again, the login is in the Word document. So in the Word document up top, you can see here it's labuser@vasscompany.com. And here is the password. And what we want to do is I will wait until everybody gets logged into SAP Build and you are at the lobby. And a couple thumbs ups would be good to let me know that people are able to get logged in. Thank you all. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, Dominic. Now, some people find my voice annoying, mostly my teenage daughters. If you want to hit mute on me and just go through the lab and the lab instructions on your own and then come back to the Microsoft Teams meeting, you are 100% allowed to do that. If you run into issues, come back to Microsoft Teams, ask your question, raise your hand, etc. We'll help you out. On screen, though, I'm going to walk through the lab. Again, for those of you that aren't following along or aren't doing it yourself and you just want to watch somebody else do it, happy to do that here. So we're going to get started here by going to Actions. And we're going to create our first action for our Joule skill today by hitting the Create button. Now, just to add some additional context here, when you're choosing an API source, I had a great question in a session yesterday. Can I use Integration Suite and iFlows? Yes, you can. They are here if you wanted to do so. Upload API specification is what we're going to be using today, but we can also browse the Business Accelerator Hub. We can use, if you've configured your destinations correctly, you can browse OData destinations directly through what's available on BTP. In order to guarantee success, though, I want everybody to not accidentally click on the wrong thing in Business Accelerator Hub. So we're going to do the upload function. We're going to upload an API spec, and that effectively is on page 3, step 6. We're going to upload an API spec. And now these API specs are in GitHub for you already so that we guarantee, again, success. So inside of the GitHub repo, you can click on your lab user number and you're going to see the API specs that we've already placed there for you. Now, where did we get these API specs? They came directly from api.sap.com, right? The go-to resource for all things API for SAP. These are OData V2 data sources that we're going to be working with today, and we are connecting to an S4 HANA system. Now, the first API that we're going to load up today, I believe, is sales documents with credit block, right? So we're going to go ahead and browse to that EDMX file, and it's going to load up in our browser. We're going to click Next. We're going to name it, and be sure, everybody, to prefix your name with your lab user number, okay? This is what's going to enable us all to not step on each other's toes. So lab user 02 for me, lab user 03 for everybody else, or whatever your user ID is. But again, prefix everything with your lab user number so that we make sure we don't step on each other's toes. Now at this stage, you may want to double check your pop-up blocker, a brand new tab opened in my browser. And so, if you have a pop-up blocker, you may want to check that there. Now, the entity that we want to use is called reads all credit blocked sales documents. So it's right here. We're going to click on that entity and we're going to click add. We are now in the Action Builder. The Action Builder is a place where you can configure the way that API calls are made to SAP and non-SAP applications. So if you had an API spec for Salesforce.com, for ServiceNow, for whatever it is out there on the internet, you could do that. You could load those API specs in here, and you could build it from scratch too, believe it or not. So if we follow our guide, though, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit the Settings button because we have to add a URL prefix to our API. Now, a lot of people have asked me, Michael, why do you do this? Why do you have to put in a URL prefix? And the reason why is in our environment, I have a single destination pointing to the root of S4. And then as we build actions, I add in the path to the API. If you wanted, you could add a destination that goes directly to the API, but then you'd have hundreds of destinations if you're using hundreds of APIs. So we have a single destination and we use the prefix to path that to the API, as opposed to putting the full path in the destination, which would then make it so I'd have hundreds of destinations if I'm using hundreds of APIs. So that is the destination we're pasting in from the guide. This is again, the destination goes to the root of S4, and then this is the path to the API that is on S4 that we're utilizing today. We're going to go ahead and hit test on this API, and we're going to look at some results just to make sure we get good results. Now, when you go to test, you're going to select the destination called S4 HANA Cust API. This is the customizing tenant of my S4 cloud solution. Again, if you have an S4 on-premise solution, that works well too, right? You just have to have a destination pointing to a cloud connector and have it set up correctly. Now, this next step I like to do is not in the lab instructions. We kind of show you how to do it later in life. But as I'm looking at this JSON response from the API, I can see sold to party. I can see date in a very funny date format. I can see sales document, values, sales org, etc. I don't like the way this date looks. And so what you can do actually in Action Builder is on output, you can go to the body and go to results. And on that create date, you can actually click on it and change the API format to a timestamp of epoch or timestamp since epoch. And now when I hit save and then test, I should get a better date field coming back to me that's human readable, right? So now the date field looks good. Again, later in the lab, we show you how to do this and if you want to create a new version, but for those that are participating, following along on the screen, if this is something you want to do now, it just saves you a step later. No big deal if we don't. But again, under output, what I did is I navigated to the creation date and I told the Action Builder that that field creation date, it's coming across as string, but it's specifically a timestamp since epoch. So we tested our API. We got good results. It looks great. We are on step 30 on page 7 of the Word document. We're going to go ahead and hit the release button. And then we're going to hit the publish button so that we're effectively releasing this version of the action that we've created. And now we're publishing it to the library so that me, as a developer, I can use it, but then all of the developers in my company can use it as well, right? So you can enable these APIs in S4 and as an action inside of Build. You publish them to a library, and then multiple people in the company can use them in their business process automations and their Joule skills, whatever it may be, right? Very cool. Fantastic. So we've confirmed the release. We've published it. You can see now I have two sort of selections up here. I have an editable version and a published version. We don't need to do anything else here. We're going to hit close. I'm going to refresh my screen. And looks like a couple people already moving forward. Good job, everybody. We're going to go ahead and create the next action. Again, we're going to upload an API spec, browse files, and I'm going to do the billing document service now. And again, I'm going to prefix my API or my action with my my lab user. I'm going to hit create. All of a sudden, the pop-up blocker decided to turn on for me. That's funny. So I have this invoice API has lots of entities. You can filter up top, so I'm just looking at gets because I'm not doing any updates today. And I believe the entity that we want to focus on is a billing document. I will double check. Yes, we're going to do a billing document, reads all billing document headers. We're going to hit add. And again, we're going to add that prefix, which goes to the API. I'm going to pause here for 3 minutes just to let people catch up if they're behind me. If you're ahead of me, keep going. But this is a key step in the guide. we're on page we're on page 11, step 62, where we're going to add an input field to the API. I'd also like to open it up for scenario questions. Are there APIs that people are thinking about, want to know, do they exist? Are there scenarios that you're thinking about and want to just ask the question, can I do this? Can I do that? You're welcome to come off mute, or you're welcome to use the chat and ask your question. Myself and Nien are here to answer. All right, so step 62, 63, page 11 of, page 11 of the Word document, page 12 of the PDF document. We're going to add a customer string as an input variable to the API call. And I'm calling it customer, and I'm entering customer as the key and the label. And I'm going to hit the add button. Next, I want to use that customer on the filter. And you do this in the action because when Joule makes the request to the URL, yes, OData v2, v4 allows you to pass like filter strings in the URI, but we don't have the ability to do that at the Joule level. So we do it here at the action level. And so if you need to have filters, you would do it here at this level. And you're going to see it. It'll make more sense when we get to the Joule skill a little bit later. But I'm clicking on filter, I'm clicking on value, and I'm going to select the column sold to party. So I want to filter based off of a sold to party. And the word customer is a little bit more natural language. And so I create an input variable called customer, because when a customer service rep is talking about a customer, they're going to say customer and they're not going to say sold to party. And so we're using this sort of as a way to, when someone says, show me invoices for customer 11721, that means sold to party in our case today, right? That could be build to party, that could be whatever you want it to be. It's just in our lab today, we're using the word customer because customer is something that's a little bit more natural in conversation when a person's interacting with an AI, interacting with Joule. So we're filtering sold to party on customer. And so when I pass this customer as an input variable, when calling this API, it's going to automatically put that in the filter on the V2 data source or V2 API. We can test it by clicking on S/4HANA Cust API. On customer, we're going to type in a business partner number. And again, this is all in the guide. You don't need to rely on my screen. I hit test. And again, I can see that here I have pair party, sold to party. And again, I have dates that are the epoch dates. I'm going to quickly go fix that. But in short, this customer has 3 open invoices that we have filtered based on that business partner. So again, I completed step 70, 71 on page 13 of the document. We've tested it, we validated it, and I want to fix the date epoch display issue real quick. So I'm going to hit save. Under output, again, I'm going to browse the output and that create date. I'm going to just fix that real quick and let SAP Build or Joule know that it's a timestamp since epoch. Great. Again, the date timestamp issue display is not a requirement. I'm just doing it so it looks nice. Um, in the guide, I talk about it later. If you wanted to come back later and just kind of work with a new version and publishing a new version, you can do that as part of the lab as well. It is important to tell everybody that you have 3 days to complete this lab. So we will not turn off your access for 3 days. You have access to this for the rest of the week. At the beginning of next week, we will delete everybody's work and we're going to run a new class for a new geography. But you do have 3 days to complete this lab. If you do run out of time today and want to pick it back up, you are welcome to do so. All right, I'm going to hit save on my action and I'm going to publish this. So I hit save, I'm going to hit release. After I release it, I'm going to make sure I'm on the released version and I'm going to click the publish button. Great. All right, it's been published. I can close that now. And if I filter, refresh, and I filter on my actions, I should be able to see my 2 actions there. Now, you can also, when you click on your actions, you can see versions. So you can see that there's an editable version and a published version, and you can also see members. Everyone has view access, right? So we've got a very open environment here, but if you wanted to restrict access to different APIs, you can. This is not restricting it at a user level. This is restricting it at a developer level and who's able to use these APIs. So you can always hit manage members and you can manage that. But that it's not in the guide, just sharing a little bit of knowledge there. We are on to create a Joule skill, which is why everybody signed up today. And it only took us 45 minutes to get there. So we're doing good. We're going to go to the lobby. Next, we're going to click on create, and we're going to click on Joule skill. Now, in your environment, everybody, if you have a Joule skill button in your SAP Build Studio build lobby, but you have a little blue icon here that says not subscribed, that usually means that you have not run the Joule booster yet for your SAP Build instance. So I'm going to name it Lab User 02. You can call it Lab User 02 Joule skill, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you put a lab username in the front so you can find it quickly and easily. Once you create, it will pop up a new browser. And you are now in a place where this is where we build Joule skills. In terms of a recommendation of how many skills is too many skills in one Joule skill project, I don't have an opinion on that yet. I'm a practitioner just like everybody here on the phone. I don't work for SAP. I work in and around SAP, and I am on projects implementing these tools and solutions. You can see here I can hit create and I can create a Joule skill. Should you have 1 Joule skill or 25 Joule skills here in this? I think it comes down to release management and how you want to manage those Joule skills, and are they related to each other? Do they need to be released separately from other Joule skills? Do they need to work together with other Joule skills? Do you want just one Joule skill project that contains all of your Joule skills? That way you have one release that you're kind of moving forward from dev to QA to prod. That's up to you, right? Probably a little bit more art than science there. But we're going to create a Joule skill. I will stop talking, and we're going to call this Lab User 02 Joule skill. And this description field, it is required, and it is also very important. So the description that you place here is interpreted by the LLM or Joule as to what the action is to be performed in that Joule skill, and effectively is what enables Joule to find your skill and link it to the user request in the prompt or in the text input from the user. So the description should not be overlooked. The description should not be 3 words. The description needs to be meaningful and accurately describe the skill that you're about to build. Okay? SAP Help has a whole 2 paragraphs on this. The description of the skill is very important. This is our first, a foray into prompt engineering. The description of the skill is very important to the actual skill execution in communicating to Joule what this thing is doing so that Joule can link it to the actual input from the user. I do
So
highlight that
Michael,
on
I
13.
just had a
Yes.
question. Does this then pick up the Joule for developer type of context, or is this still just leveraging build? Like, how is it knowing to do this prompt, or how will it understand it?
Yes. Thank you, Aaron. So this effectively, if let's say I build a Joule skill for a sales order lookup, an invoice lookup, and delivery lookup. The description is what Joule will use in order to link the user request. I want to know the status of delivery XYZ to the Joule skill, the delivery lookup Joule skill. Right? So that's the way I've interpreted it, that the description of the skill is used by the LLM to link the skill that you've built to the user request. And so people have often asked, well, how does Joule know what skill to call? And that comes from this description being very verbose in terms of what does it do? This will look up sales orders on credit hold in S/4HANA. It will display the sales order, the business partner, and the net value to help inform the customer of their order status. Right. So I've even told it in that credit hold API, in that API for the sales order on credit hold, I probably have 25 JSON fields. I'm specifically telling Joule, these are the fields I'm going to get, you're going to give back to the user as well. I hope I
Okay.
answered that question, Aaron.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. So after entering the data, we're going to click create. And when I click create, I'm dropped into a canvas that I can add and modify different things, or add actions, add process automations, things like that. This is where that description is persisted, right? So I can see it over here on the left. I have parameters. I have no input parameters on this one. We're going to do an input parameter on the next skill. And here, allow Joule to generate a response. I'm actually going to turn that off in this case. And the reason why is I want to take the data from the API, and I want to very specifically tell Joule how to present that data back to the user. You're going to understand more as we get there, but we're going to turn off allow Joule to generate a response, and we're going to immediately go to actions. We're going to add our action that we created for sales orders on credit hold. So when I hit browse all actions, I'm going to type in my lab user number and hit enter. And that will nicely filter for you your actions. Reads all credit block sales documents is the very first one I'm going to do. So I'm going to hit add. And it might take a minute to pop up. You're immediately presented with a warning saying you don't have a destination. That's perfectly fine. Click on create destination. And we're going to call this S/4HANA because that's the destination. This API points is an S/4HANA API, so I'm going to call the destination S/4HANA. I'm going to call it the S/4HANA system. And again, a destination variable is what enables you to have a Joule skill in development point to the development system. And then when you promote this to QA, it's pointing to QA. And then when you promote to prod, it promotes to prod, right? So we're not hard coding SAP systems here. We're using variables for destinations. So in the Word document, we're on page 18 where we've added the destination. If you want, you can browse the output and kind of see the output that's expected here. But the very next thing we're going to do is I talked about this before. I don't want Joule to kind of have to figure out what kind of message to respond to the user. I want to model that message back to the user. And I'm going to hit add message and open message editor. On the guide, that's effectively page 18 of the Word document, step 36. I said add message, send message, and then open message editor. Now, I fully expect when people are calling that API, they're going to have multiple values. So we are using the list message type. For title, we're going to use the title sales orders on credit hold. For title text, I'm just going to call it sales orders. And then we're going to edit the list item and link the list item to the API response. Okay, so that's the magic here of how does the data go from the API into Joule? Here is that list content. I'm clicking the little icons on the right, And I'm opening up that action or that API, and I can see the results here. So, right, so the results of that API call are going to be fed into this list. Now, here's where I can begin having text and variables in a single document or in a single field. So under title, I'm typing in sales order, and then I'm clicking the variable button, and I'm going to put in the sales document. Right there. So you can see over here on the right, I get a preview of what the user is going to see. So I see sales order and then sales document. On the next one, I'm going to do customer and sold to party. So I'm typing in customer, hitting the variable button and putting in sold to party, right? So it's building out that preview. Under details, I'm going to have order details section. And I'm going to add some attributes. This is a very detailed part of the guide. We are on page 22 of the guide, where I'm adding in, again, more fields, right? So it's building out that card that the user is going to see. The first one is order date and then total net value. So order date, and I'm going to link that to create date. And then total value, I'm going to link that to total net amount. So in the end, I have a card, a very basic card, right, everybody, where I have a preview of what the user is going to see. So when that API returns 5 sales orders, 6 sales orders, and the person clicks on the order detail, they're going to see the data that I'm presenting here. We could add more attributes and more fields, right? And if we wanted to go all the way to the sales order line item level, we could do that as well. We're keeping it very simple here today, just, again, for speed, just to give you some exposure to SAP Build and Joule skills. But ultimately, once you're done with configuring the message, we're going to hit save, and we're going to close the canvas. When you click save, it may take 2 or 3 seconds to respond, and it'll go to saved, and then I click close. The first skill is built. We're going to build one more skill before we go and test. So I'll pause here, everybody. Before we create this next skill on page 19, any questions, any comments so far? So again, in your Word document, you have the prompt or the description that we'd like you to use. Page 24 of the lab. We're going through very quickly. Again, I'm hoping everybody is also seeing how easy it is to build a Joule skill. After I create that new skill 2, I'm turning off the Joule response, and I'm going to add a parameter, an input parameter for customer. Because remember, when we built that API call or the action for open invoices, we know that the person is going to pass a customer number, or at least in this case, a customer number. It could be a customer name, which we could build a skill for that too. But today we're using customer number, business partner number. We're going to add an input to the skill so that when a person is using typing into Joule, they can say customer 123, and Joule will know, oh, I'm going to pass that customer number into the API, into the action, for example. So we're on page 25. We've added the customer as an input to the skill. And next we're going to go to actions, and we're going to talk about, we want to read that billing documents for that user. So we're going to go to actions here. Wanted to highlight for those of you that are still following along on the screen with me, this is where you can add a check condition. So you can have ifs and ors and thans. Ifs mostly, I'm sorry. You can have ifs. I can call an automation from business process automation, or I can run a process from process automation. So a lot of capability here. I can launch other Joule skills. So one Joule skill can trigger another Joule skill. Talking about customer, whether it's customer number or customer name, that might be a skill you build in order to identify which is which and then pass that correctly to an API. In our lab, though, today, we're going to browse all actions. We're going to filter based on our lab user. And we're going to add billing document headers to the action on this Joule skill. We're going to select that same destination variable for S/4HANA. And on input, we're going to scroll down. Remember, we created that field called customer as an input. We're going to link the Joule skill input called customer to the input variable called customer on the API call, right? That way, Joule is taking whatever I said and it's passing it to that API. Again, remember, Joule's here. We're building a deterministic task. It's a deterministic path, meaning there's a clear start and an end and a clear solution to get there, right? So we're taking customer X from the conversation with Joule. We're passing X as a variable into the API call. Output, you're going to see, again, all the fields that are coming out of the output are there. But we're hitting save after we've added the action to our skill. We are on page 26. We talked about browsing the output, and now we're going to do the message again because we want to kind of format how the open invoices are displayed to the user when they interact with this Joule skill. So we're clicking the add button. We're going to say send response. And we're going to open the message editor again. And again, a reminder to everybody, you're going to have access to the lab for the next 3 days. You will get the recording. You will have the lab instructions. You will have everything you need in order to complete this lab offline if you need to over the next couple of days. So we're going to, again, choose a list type for message. We've got a title and text that we're using. And we're going to go ahead to the list item, and we're going to link the list items to the API response. So there's the API response. We're clicking results. And here under title, I'm going to title invoice and then select billing document as the value. The next field, I believe, is customer. And sold to party is the value. Again, more fields we can use, lots of fields, plenty of fields available. Here you have a thing called add button. You could add a hyperlink to the Fiori application that links to the invoice Fiori application, and you could pass the invoice number, a billing document number, as a variable so that the user can click a button and go right to the Fiori app for that invoice. A very cool capability. Down here in sections, we're going to add 2 attributes just like we did before. We're going to have invoice date, I believe. Let's just double check that. Yes, and invoice amount. So we're going to look at creation date and total net amount. What is it again? Total net amount. Yeah, there we go. It's in front of me. That's why I can't find it. All right, so again, you get a preview of the card over here on the right. It looks good. It's very basic. It's very simple. We can adapt. We could add more fields if we wanted later, do things, but we want to get this thing published and we want to get you guys being able to run and test this. So I've got a message. I've got an action. I've got a message. Everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and save, close, and we're going to release and publish this and start testing. So we're going to hit save. Once the save is confirmed, we can close it. We're now back here where we can see our two skills. We can hit the release button. It's now released. Up top, I need to click on the released version, and I'm going to hit deploy. Now, for those of you maybe ahead of me, that's okay, but make sure you deploy your skill to your environment. That way, your skill isn't stepping on the toes of somebody else's skill. So we created an environment for every lab user. Lab user 02 is me. I'm going to deploy to my standalone environment called lab user 02. In terms of the destination, when prompted, select S/4HANA Cust API. For those in the document, we are on page 28, where we are selecting that destination called S/4HANA Cust API, and we hit deploy. All right, we're about 60 seconds away from seeing your Joule skill live. All right, it says deployed and active. I can close this browser tab. I will navigate to Control Tower, then Environments. I'm going to filter for my lab user. When I click on it, I can see my skill is deployed, right? The package of the two skills. When I click on More, I have a Joule menu item I can select. I can see my skill is there. I'm going to hit Launch. I'm going to hit New Conversation. If you're not already, you can see here I've been running this a couple days in a row, so I have a few conversations here going. But an example prompt is, do we have any sales orders on credit hold? And now you see on the response here, it made the API call, and there are two sales orders on credit hold. So I can see sales order 41 and sales order 14, and they're both for the same customer. So 1710005. I can say, what are the open invoices for customer? This is going to initiate the second skill we built to go get open invoices. Now, can I enhance this with business partner name? Yes, that would be another part of another skill to enumerate the take the business partner name and do a fuzzy search and get the sole two-part identifier. Those are all capabilities that we have here. But again, now I can see I have 3 open invoices with varying amounts, 200, 500, 300. Next, in my guide, what I have you do is ask it to draft an email for me. So as an example, we say, hey, Joule, can you help me draft an email to the customer providing the open invoice details and ask for a status on payment before sales order 41 can be released? So right now, I'm just invoking an LLM capability, not necessarily an SAP capability. But here you can see it drafted a very nice email. I hope this message finds you well. We would like to bring to your attention the following open invoices associated with your account. As per our records, these invoices remain unpaid. Please note that sales order 41, valued at $400, is currently on hold and will be released upon confirmation of payment for the outstanding invoices. Could this email be automatically drafted every Monday and sent to the customers? 100% yes. Joule skills can be linked to business process automations, which can be linked to Microsoft Office 365. So these emails are automatically sent every Monday or every Tuesday or whenever you choose. You can invoke the skill in a Joule conversation as well, meaning, hey, go draft all the collection invoice emails for me as of whatever day. These are all capabilities. And what's kind of interesting here is it actually took my username, Annie Lab User, and put it in there as well. So a very, very cool capability where in the matter of 20, 30 minutes, we together as a team, we created 2 actions linked to 2 S4 APIs. By the way, I very purposely picked APIs that are also available with S4 on-premise. right? So this skill could theoretically be deployed in work zone on BTP, connecting to an on-premise S4 system. We added 2 actions against 2 APIs. We developed a Joule skill. We published it. We used it in a Joule conversation, and then we had it draft an email for us. Right, so a very simple lab, but I think it's something we wanted to show everybody that it is very easy to build Joule skills. Joule skills are very flexible and powerful. And we have the support of the LLM to help us generate natural language text like we've done here on screen. With that, we have about 20 minutes left in the scheduled session today. I can leave the channel open for questions and comments, how to, where to, scenario questions. We are happy to support everybody here on the phone. Happy to support you in questions you may have about your environment and how you may apply this to your SAP landscapes.
Yeah, Michael, this is good. I was trying to keep up with you, and so I'll continue working on it and finishing it up. But so it sounds like most of this is using the process automation capabilities of Build, right? Along with Joule to do that, to automate this process and build the skill.
Correct. So we could build the skill and allow our users to test the skill and build confidence. And then when, as an organization, we're ready, you could link this to a BPA, a business process automation, to call the Joule skill. And again, draft emails automatically every Monday as an example. So super flexible. And again, all of these capabilities of SAP Build, whether it's build process automation, build apps, or Joule skills, they can all be integrated to each other, which is a very neat capability.
Right. So you could bring this into a build app scenario where can you even integrate the prompt within a build app, or do you have to go through Joule to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I can access this Joule skill through Joule, through the Joule interface, or as you had suggested, I could have this built into a Fiori application as well. So maybe I'm building a Fiori application to quickly, at a glance, look at sales orders on credit hold, and then I could have the Joule skill embedded in that app to allow the user to automatically draft emails to customers, as an example.
Right.
So a question from Shiva, what is the LLM model used behind this? And I don't work for SAP, but based on what I've learned from working with SAP over the last couple of months, this is a domain-specific LLM model that we as customers, by the way, at VASS, we run SAP too, we run S4. So we as SAP customers cannot choose the LLM model used in Joule or in Joule skills. So it is a domain-specific LLM model provided by SAP, maintained by SAP as a service. So therefore, we cannot choose the LLM model. Saying that though, for more complex scenarios, if you wanted, you could enable SAP Business AI, choose an LLM model, expose the LLM model as an API, and then in a Joule skill, call that if you had a specific use case or function. So that was a very long answer, but in short, it's a domain-specific model, hosted, maintained, provided by SAP that we cannot choose. You can, however, integrate this with an LLM model you choose using Business AI. I should also highlight that for international customers, you can choose what data center Joule runs in. So right now you can run Joule in Tokyo, you can run Joule in Germany if you don't want to run it inside the United States. SAP does support data privacy, has a data privacy law for AI or a policy for AI where it's called sovereign data policy, and you can choose to have AI run in a different data center if you want. The next one is, are there any best practices if we are exposing personal sensitive data visual skill? What is the model store our data. A couple things here. Joule conversations are private and they are specific to the Joule tenant. So again, SAP's AI data privacy protection policy states that your business data is not and will never be used to train LLMs and is not sent to third-party LLMs when using this specific use case with Joule, Joule Skills, and SAP's provided domain-specific LLM model. The data that is used by Joule is read at runtime via the API. So in your destination, if you have correctly configured SAML assertion for single sign-on between Joule and that OData destination, then the user's permissions are applied when they're accessing that OData object. As an example, let's say I build a Joule skill against SuccessFactors, and I want to make sure that Michael Pytel is conversing with Joule and SuccessFactors as Michael Pytel. I would again have a destination with SAML assertion, and only my user ID would have access to that Joule skill, and that Joule skill would be accessed that OData, which is permissioned and gives me authority to. So I'm hoping I answered your question, Shiva. Joule skills exposed to destinations using SAML assertions. SAML assertions guarantees I have security applied correctly when accessing that OData API. And wanted to highlight that the business data is read at runtime. It is not persisted long-term. Yeah, great question. A couple of the Joule skills that we've seen. Well, building Joule skills for orphan purchase orders is an example of a Joule skill where a user needs assistance in identifying what purchase orders might be orphaned, meaning a purchase order is open, but maybe accounting paid an invoice without reference to PO, so therefore the PO is open and should be closed. That's an example of a Joule skill. Another Joule skill example would be, I mentioned it before, inbound delivery planning. A customer needed a Joule skill that helped them understand how many people do I need to unload trucks today. And in that Joule skill, we're looking at ASNs, we're looking at the number of pallets on a truck, and then we're extrapolating out how many people might be needed if it's a 26 pallets, how many people per pallet per minute can I unload a truck, and then helping a user estimate the amount of hours required to unload trucks, right? So that's an example. Looking at transportation management, you could look at you could build a Joule skill to look at traffic on delivery routes, weather on delivery routes, estimated times of arrival. That's all a capability of a Joule skill for transportation, using APIs that are available through transportation management and just through Google APIs. Thomas Jose or Jose Thomas, want to let you know, yes, the recording is made available to all registrants. Whether you attended or not, you will get the recording and also the lab instructions. Another Joule skill is looking at, for example, I have a sales order in SAP, and maybe I want to know, is that sales order linked to an opportunity in Salesforce.com? Joule skills can traverse multiple systems. And so I can build a Joule skill that reads sales order information from SAP and then looks at opportunity information in Salesforce.com and provides details, right? So we can link opportunities to actually sales orders in SAP. We can look at, if we're maybe using a different enterprise asset management system, we can look at assets in a third-party asset management tool and look at information in SAP as well. So Joule is quite powerful. Joule skills are quite powerful in that it can integrate with any OData API. I think, Shiva, a great SuccessFactors use case is honestly using Joule grounded in documents, policies, and procedures so that employees are able to ask natural language questions about, how do I submit an expense report? How do I book travel? When is open enrollment? What are my options for benefits this year? All of those things that we manage and maintain in SuccessFactors link back to policy documents on SharePoint. It's important to know Joule can be grounded in SharePoint document repositories so that business users are able to ask natural language questions about policies and procedures, and Joule will respond with the correct business context sourced from those documents inside of my SharePoint repository. It also works with Azure Blob Storage. It also works with WorkZone. But I do see a lot of customers connecting Joule to SharePoint folders so that I'm able to ask questions. Joule can also be used to be grounded in parts manuals, product documentation, service manuals. We have a customer that makes construction equipment, and every machine that they make has a series of documents related to it. A user manual, an owner manual, lots of different things there. So we can have those documents, we can have Joule be grounded in those documents so that when users ask questions, they can ask questions about documents in SharePoint, as an example.
Sounds like getting the API connector set up is so key, right? Whether you're connecting to Salesforce, SuccessFactors, SharePoint, and then Joule will run those prompts against those applications.
Correct. And inside of SAP Build, we have a part. We did not go through this through the lab today, but we have something called destinations inside of SAP Build in the Build lobby. So in the control tower, we can see destinations here that I've got configured. So you can see Document AI. We have all of our different S/4HANA systems where we have both configured with SAML assertion and basic authentication. Those destinations are directly related to destinations in BTP. So your BTP administrator is required to help you configure those destinations as well. But again, SAP provides us the tools and the documentation to do so. Here in my lab environment, when I click on my build environment here, I click on destinations. You can see I have lots of different destinations available. So Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, my Task Center, my lots of different, again, very capable solution provided by SAP when adding those destinations. Now, in summary, though, I wanted to let everybody know you still do have 3 days to complete this lab. Everybody will receive the recording. Everybody will receive the lab instructions. If you have questions, please do send us an email. I've listed some of my colleagues' emails here in the chat or here on screen. We thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity. I hope everybody had a great day, and I hope everybody enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you, Mike.
Very beautiful presentation.
Fantastic. Hope everybody was able to get their skill running.
Thanks, Mike.